this channel. Welcome to my programmer channel. And today is going to be another build session. And what I'm trying to build here is on screen. As you can see, I'm trying to work on can I build a mobile UI framework using AI. So the thing is, we've heard a lot about AI can do a lot of things. AI can do this. AI can do that. AI can do almost anything right now when it comes to coding and programming. But the point is, can it really do something like this, whereby I build from scratch and I'm trying to create an entity like basically from scratch? Is it possible for me to do that using AI? So that's the question today, and that's basically what I'm going to be building all through this in this episode, right? So this might be done today because I have like literally 1 hour 30 minutes to demo this to see if it's going to work or if it's not going to work. So my approach to this is simple. You guys might have heard if you've been following this channel for a while that I like working with Radix, right? Radix UI. Radix UI is one of my favorite UI, let me say UI libraries, right? It's one of the best ones out there, personally, based on preference. So I've worked with a lot of libraries. I've used Chartien, Daisy UI, Radix, Hero UI, like MUI, mention any of the UIs, right? Many of the style libraries out there that you can think of that are popular with people both for mobile and for web. But the point is that for web, it's easy to work around, but for mobile, it's very constraining, right? So, especially when you work with React Native, for instance, you have things like Tailwind, which you have to hack to work. For instance, you have to do stuff like using native wind or uniwind. So let me show you guys. You have to use something like native wind to get it to work with mobile React Native especially. So you have native wind, which is an example where you can use Tailwind CSS, or you also have Uniwind, which is like one of my favorite these days, Uniwind.dev, and it's one of the ones that is a bit faster. There are a lot of other ones, right? There's what's the name of this popular one? I can't remember right now, but I think start with T and stuff. That's Tama GUI, yes. That is also a good library. It's also a good way for you to use it. But the point is that even with all of this, right, we are talking about using all of these libraries. Uniwind is one of them. The native wind is another one you can use for your React Native library. But in terms of being fast and what they offer you in terms of like colors and all of those other things, animations and stuff, even if you don't have animations, do you have the colors because you can decide to use your animations yourself, right? Without having to think much about it. So these are some of the examples out there. But the point is that most of these are very limiting when you when you compare them with like web UIs. For instance, let me show you an instance now. So if you have native wind, for instance, native wind is basically like should I say Shartian? If you think about it, it's more like Shartian. So let me show you an example of how this looks like. So I've used native wind. Let me show you an example of an app. I don't know if I still have it open here. A mobile app that I built using that. Okay, it's not open currently, but and that will take me a while to open it. But let me see if I can get an example of how the app should look like. This is not really descriptive enough. But this is how it looks. It looks like chat. Okay, let me go to component and show you guys. So if I go to the components and go to the examples you have here, you can see things like no, not this one. So this is native UI, right? It allows you to do everything you can do with React with Tailwind CSS. If I want to use a library, I'll use React Native Reusable that works more like ShardCN. So native UI provides you the experience. ShardCN is like a component library, like ShardCN. React Native Reusable is like a component library like ShardCN that you can use, you can tweak to make anything work for you. But the point is that even with this fact, it doesn't give you everything that you can get on the web. And to be honest, Shasien is not my favorite library to use because it's more, as much as it's flexible to use, it's also constraining because I don't want to have to tweak everything I want to do. There are a lot of ways I can tweak other libraries. That's one of the reasons why I like what they call it, Radix. So Radix is more like my favorite UI library, which I like to use for building anything because it is solid, it is tweakable, it is modern, it is customizable. Like it's just beautiful. And then, fun fact, Shartian is built on top of Radix as well. So for any Shartian library you see out there, Radix is like the core of it. Every component, every implementation is more like Radix. But then the newer version are also drifting away from Radix using Base UI, which similarly looks like Radix at the end of the day. So at the end of the day, Radix gives you a lot of very, very mature concept to work with. So my plan in this video is, can I build a mobile UI using mobile UI framework using AI? Yes, I can. And That's the question I'm trying to answer. And I might not be able to. That's also the question I'm able to answer. So in this case, this is Radix UI that I'm going to use. And this is what we want to try to implement. So Radix UI is just one of the best things for me in Radix UI is the layout system. So the layout system is rich, it's flexible, it's customizable, it's dynamic. Most people don't like this, but personally, I like it. I feel like it gives your work a bit of structure. When you are working with Flex or Grid and someone picks up your code 2 months later, 1 year later, he understands that, okay, this is what this does at a glance. I don't need to have to read through your CSS, especially for mobile, whereby I have style sheets, I need to go and check it out. Or even if I'm using normal CSS with Tailwind, it doesn't really do much. You have to customize and customize and customize for certain things, especially when you have like row or columns. By using Flex alone, you know that yes, you need to define them, but not having to use CSS all the time. You can give them their own properties, and then the properties goes across and works with it. With the option to also customize using Tailwind CSS. So it just makes sense. Basically, you have Flex, you have Grid, you have the box layout, you have the container. Now, what I'm trying to replicate here is, can I implement something like Radix here on mobile? That's the idea. That's exactly what I'm trying to implement. So in this series, this is basically what I'm trying to do. So all this, like I said, it's going to be using AI. Obviously, these days, everything you build has to have a bit of AI on it. So I'm sprinkling a bit of AI on it, so not trying to do it myself. If I was to take this project up myself, it's going to take me months. Jokes apart, because uh, what first thing I need to do is look at how I can get it to work on mobile first. So I need to make a test for with the mobile application, an Expo application most probably. But I need to also find a way to tweak it to work, because I need to set up Metro and Babel, because every configuration to work with mobile right now has to use Babel or Metro config. Take any of them, whether native wind, uniwind, you have to configure those things. So I need to start thinking of, okay, how will I get that to work? And personally, I don't really know how that works, but I know I can figure it out. It's just something I can figure out. Not that bad. And we always get a way to figure it out. So what I'm trying to do now is take the entire way Radix was implemented from the repo itself and try to replicate that process to get it to work. So that's my plan today. So what I'm going to do is, this repo is the Radix theme repository. So is it open source? Yes, it's an open source component library optimized for fast development, easy maintenance, and accessibility. This is the full documentation. These are the authors, community, licensed under the MIT license. So what I'm trying to do is to use this entire thing and replicate it for mobile. If we can, then that means you are able to use the layout, you are able to use the rich color system. And let me show you what the color system looks like. This is the color system for Radix. It's very, very rich. And when I mean very rich, it is intuitive, it is customizable, it is defined. The definition part is what I like, because you have a pattern for it. You don't just come anywhere and just dump anything into it. You know that you have a color system that works. So the same thing Shatien also gives to you. It gives you more on Radix, but in a more grounded way. I personally prefer this to even the way Shatien works, right? Even though Shatien is just component that are configurable and stuff like that. Like, these are the number of colors you can use, and you can use them in terms of like contrast and for different resources. So for backgrounds, this is how your background will look like using Radix. For interactive components, it's going to look like this. For borders and separators, look like this. For solid colors, it will look like this. And for accessibility text, it will look more like this. So what does that mean? When you talk about accessibility text, right, you know that accessibility is one of those things you have to put into consideration for building production-ready code base when you're reaching a wider audience of people. For a small application, yes, but if you're building a framework, this is what you want to put into it, because whoever is going to be using this, when it is production ready, we consider the accessibility part is quite important. So now, even with all of this, right, the colors are, you can see, is a very rich color with shadows, highlights, and overlays. So everything is put into consideration. But the idea is, even with this, right, you can still configure it. So if you go to the custom palette, for instance, this is it. And this is how it looks like for light and for dark mode. You can see it change in colors. Literally, if you observe the 10 here and I go to the dark, you can see it changes a bit. It might not be that obvious, but it changes. Literally changes. And this is how you can look at it. This is how it shows you the card, the colors, everything is consistent. The lights, the outline, the overlay, the ghost, the classic. I just like the design system. Honestly, it's one of the best ones I've used. And that makes sense. So if I decide to change to this, you can see I can decide to use this as my custom template palette, and it works for me. So if we can have this rich system brought to React Native, it will make a lot of sense, because it won't be too expensive, much more expensive than what something like Uniwind gives to you. or native Wing gives to you, it won't be that bad if you can implement this. And then the idea is that if you can implement this, you can just copy the code, the CSS code for accent, for color, and for background. You can see literally all of these are just a way to like customize what you want, and it works for you. So, for instance, this is one of the stuffs I built using Radix. This is one of it, right? But this is not the one I want to show here. This is one of the apps I built using Radix. This is it. Very simple, very modern, but it's beautiful. You cannot deny the fact the entire thing is built using Radix. So this is a wallet I built, a Web3 wallet, just to like be useful for different use cases. So you don't need to. So it's something I built for people that tend to lose their funds, right? I have most of my friends that say, "Oh, my funds were stolen, this and this and this." But that's the story for another time. What I'm trying to say is the whole view you see here, the whole UI you see from here, the whole UI you see here, both here and here, in terms of usability, scalability, different dimensions and sizes, everything was built in Radix. The call out, the select, customizable. Everything here is customizable. The buttons, you can see the way it looks like. It looks so rich. It looks mature, production ready for anything itself. The way the colors blend, the way the opacity is, the way the overlay is, everything is just smooth to use. I personally like Radix a lot. I how much I like Radix for my design system in terms of user customization and all. As I said, all of this, right? Everything was done. System is consistent. It doesn't just go away. Once you decide the color, accent color to use, it sticks there. And I know, yes, Tailwind does the same thing, but at the end of the day, this is configurable with Tailwind and all, but still, my point still remains, it's usable. So you have that consistent color system, you have all of those. So this is just an example of the stuff that I built using Radix, some of the stuff I built using Radix. So if I'm to show you guys all of those things, this is how it looks like, right? And when you consider how this is also, you look at it that, okay, now this is cool, this is that. So this is it. This is an example of a production stuff. And this is on Chrome Store. So it's not something that is just practice. This is something that you built, I launched it on Chrome Store. It's an extension that you can download and use, and it's usable. And it didn't give any glitch. And I'm using it even on an extension. So what I'm trying to do is, if Redis can work everywhere, why can't it work on mobile? That's the problem. So that's the second question now. So Radix can work. Let me write this. Radix UI can work on web, Chrome extensions, and other web related places. Let me say platforms. So why can't it on web? That's the question I figure out here. So this is the question I'm trying to ask myself. Why? So I had this question a bit some days ago when I was working on one of my mobile projects, and the reason I had this question was because I was trying to use the layout system. I missed the layout system on Radix. So I was trying to bring it to React Native, whereby I had to define view for everything. I didn't want that. Of course, if I'm using Radix, I will define box, flex, and see the same thing. But defining view, then customizing was a bit tricky for me. I wanted the flexibility of just saying view, gap, and that's all, or VStack or A-stack. That's what I wanted. But I didn't have that on React Native. So I felt, okay, this is terrible. I want something else that can do, that can make that work for me. So one of the options I went for was simple. I built something which I used. What's the name again? Okay, so this is it. So let me open this project. So this project was one of the one I built for that use case. And let me go to the UI. Okay. Why are you? So let me show you guys what I'm talking about here. So just give you guys an intro to what we are trying to do, because we need to figure out why we are trying to do what we are trying to do. So this is the layout. So if you look at this is all the stuff from native wind, this to this, everything you see here from here to here are native wind components, all downloaded using native wind, configured. The configuration is here. You can see it in Babel config. You can see native wind, Babel, native wind, blah blah blah. The same thing happens in Metro config. You still see native wind here. You can see with native wind here, it works, right? Same thing applies to Uniwind. So, but the challenge here is that even if you're using stuff like this, you don't have all of those flexibilities. So I wanted it. So what I did was I decided to build it. And what I did was going to layout and create the layout I wanted. So how does it work? Let me just open the README. The README is not that crazy. currently uses native wind behind the scenes, but I didn't want to do that. I wanted to see if I can bring the entire Radix. So if I'm talking about what I'm trying to build, I've already built it. It's not as if I don't have it working, especially the layout system. I don't need the other stuffs, but I wanted the other stuff too from Radix. For instance, I wanted the let me go to the themes again. Let me open that in a new tab. In a new tab. So I wanted the themes, right? I wanted the old box flex grid container section thing. I wanted the text, how it works in terms of like the align size, weights, and all of this just defined, and I know that it works once. I also wanted the heading, which gives me different size variabilities. I wanted all of this. I didn't want the block quotes. I know I won't read this on mobile stuff, but those are things I don't need. Then the avatar, does it work? Of course, I know I have that with native way reusables, React Native reusables, and other components I can use. I have the badges, but this just makes a lot more sense because it's still consistent with the color system. So personally, the only thing I've not been able to cover aside from the layout is the color system. So I wanted the color system different. So in the terms of the layout, I've defined that already. For instance, this is how the box looks like. So in this case, this is what the box is. This is how the let me show you what guys what I mean. So in this case, I'm just going to copy this project, right? I'm going to copy this and paste it into another project I'm going to test it with. So you guys can see what I'm talking about. So I don't want to test it here. This one will take time to load and build and stuff. I don't want to work on it for this project. So I'm going to open this other project. It's also a mobile project, a React Native project, but this one uses Uniwind. This one uses the native wind. So but it works for both of them really because it doesn't really have any hindrance. So this is the layout. So for the layout, I have this, which is the index.ts here. So the index.ts is where all the import happens. But basically what I'm trying to say is we have things like the box now. So I have the box. So if I go here, you see the box. The box is just a React Native view also. So it's not something special or something that doesn't work. It's still a view. Take box props, which is defined to be inherited from the view props and all of those things. It's just a normal thing. So how do I use it? The same way I probably will use it in Radix. So this is just like this is the intention here, and that's what I'm trying to show you guys what it means. So in this case, can I use it to work like this? Yes. So how do you use the box? Use it somewhat like this: box with height stuff. If you look at the example here, you have box background. I'm adding other properties that I feel like will make sense. This is optional stuff. But what I'm trying to do is that for box, for instance, is you take all the properties that you have for views, that's the React Native views itself, and use that to generate all the properties. So in this case now, this is what the box is all about. But that's not all. So the box now is like the generic view. You can see it's just returning a view with the property, the class name. So that means it also uses here Tailwind classes. It works properly. It uses the reference, actual proper references, forward ref, and all of those things. It uses the styles, using the filters. Everything works perfectly well, right? And all of the old properties from the view props and all of those things still works. So these are all tweaks that happened when we are trying to create everything to get it to work. But these are just stuffs that work, right? So the next thing was the one I personally missed a lot was the flex. I wanted the flex and the grid for one of the stuff I was trying to build for this project then, and I missed it a lot. So what I did was the flex just inherits the box. It's just a box. The flex is just all of this other field also that comes from so the layer is the view just ability customizations and all of do behind the scenes. I know it's more like why? But then when you are working on a big project and stuff, I just want the customization. I feel like it's easier for me to work with. It's faster, I get it done faster. And then if you're working with like using AI, I've seen is not that when you're working on complex stuff, it tends to misbehave. There's no consistency in the design, no consistency in the setup, no consistency in all of this. Because if it needs to create components or use Tailwind, still no consistency in the design language. It's terrible. So that's what I've seen so far. So that's why this is being created. Then the grid also works the same way. The grid uses the same concept as you have a grid in Radix too. You have things like the grid, the columns, the gap, the rows. In this case, the rows is quite subjective because you don't have the same grid system that you have in the web on native. So that means you can't use the same thing. So the way the grid works was quite different. We had to go another route, but it works. So what I'm trying to say here is that you can be able to create the same layout system that we had for Radix UI, but not the exact way. So in this case, we have things like column where we can define the column, the gaps, and then you define the child. properties that you want to define those things for. And it works fine. Like all of these things was fine. It doesn't require any other additional stuff. All you need was just React Native View, and then this, which comes from the utils file. This is not a standalone library. If it was, this would be coming from its own library set and stuff. But it was just integrated into this application. That's what I'm trying to explain here. So this is just this. So it's something I can copy and paste into another project entirely, and it works fine. The utils is also generated inside of this place, which you can see here. So everything is standalone already. Just copy the folder and it works. That's it. So what am I trying to do here? This is okay. It works for me, but it doesn't work exactly the way I want it to. Let me show you guys what I mean here. So there are a lot of other things that works here. Showing you. Let me go to the UI and go to the layout and copy the layout into this place. So I'll just copy this whole layout here so that I can use it for what I want to demo here. So I'm going to close this because I don't want it to be opened. I'm going to see if I have my simulator open. I think I do have it open here. Yeah, so it is open. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start this just to demo expose start. So I'm going to be using the layout, right? So I'm just going to create a new one and shift this here. I'm going to close this. I hope this is big enough to see. So yeah, so now let's go here. I'm going to create a new page. Before I do that, let me just start this first. So I'm going to start this. Okay, so while this starts, I'm going to, so this is an app I'm building for like a Chrome extension that I'm also building, a separate one. And what this does is it's just an annotation extension. So annotation extension in the sense that you might be browsing something and you want to take a screenshot of it and save it for later use. Maybe scribble something on it as, oh wow, I want to check this later, I want to send it to someone later, or stuff like that. Just to capture your thoughts in the moment. How do you do that? This is what the app is all about. So there's a mobile extension for it, which is what you saw here the other time. This is the extension. It's you log in on the extension, and once you log in, it automatically syncs here. I have to sign in because there's no way to not sign in. Yeah. So once I sign into this is the mobile app here. It's still in progress. It's almost done though. I think everything is done sef at this point. So this is it. This is how it's going to work. So whatever I have here in terms of like my annotations here, uh, so you're just going to sync whatever I have in the extensions here, which is what I have on the local before I sign in or after I sign in, basically. Whatever I have on the local, I lose the annotation 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And you can see the cloud here, meaning that it's synced to the cloud. So whatever I have here is going to be displayed here also. You're going to see 6 annotations here. So all of them are literally the same thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now these 5 of them are broken. There's only one that is showing here. Same thing that is showing here. That's the word about. And it's quite interesting. You can see the way this is here because I wanted to remember it for later use. So I could mark it. I'm still working on the extension because I broke it today while I was working on it, trying to get something fixed. But it didn't work as I wanted. So I'm still it's still in development, right? But it's almost done, like 92% done. Just the last fix and then it's good to go. It's currently okay at this point, but it doesn't work as I want. I want the 100% perfection before I deploy it and stuff. So I was working on the extension and the mobile app at the same time. So I did a live series on it. You can check it out also in the other video. It should be linked to this one probably afterward. You can just check on it in my channel. You see the 7 day plus bonus episode I created for it, including how to build the mobile app itself. So enough of that. So this is what this does. So for this one, this is what the app is about, and then it will you can do all the stuff. What I want to show here is layout. So say I want to create. I'm not going to the sign up now. The sign in. Let's go to the home page. So in the home page, say I want to use the layout, right? I have a lot of different components in the home page. For the UI, I have the stack. So when we are creating it, we added other functionalities like the stack, the spacer, the section, the text, some other stuff like heading to make it rich. So how do I do that? If I wanted to change, for instance, say I wanted to change this here, my name, right? How do I do it? So what I would have done here is as simple as saying something like, okay, no, I'm just going to create that below this, right? I'm just going to create heading. Heading is something I'm going to import from the layout, right? You can see. So I'm going to import the heading. The heading has its own properties that I can use. I'm just going to call it the same thing that is inside here. And I'm going to paste that inside of this place. Like So if I use, let's see, what's it complain about? Oh yeah, so you can't find that. I need to go and fix that. That was the library I mentioned the other time that is not available, which is this one. Yeah, so which is clear. So what I need to do is simple. I just need to. I don't have the seals here, so I don't have the C. So why is it complete? Okay, I don't have a source in this one. That's why. So this should be fine. So if I do this now, it should work fine, but it won't work fine for all of them because all of them literally use the same thing. So I'm going to just global search this. No, literally I'm going to do this instead. Rather than doing that, I'm going to go back to these utils here, copy this. Um, but that is a problem because I need that library. All right, you know what I'm going to do? If you are converting it to an actual library, then that can work. But in this case, I'm just going to leave it. I won't do all of those things for now. I'll go back here. I'll look for going back to box. I will look for this. Control find, control replace. I'm going to replace it with hash lib utils. Replace all. Literally, just replace all. How do I replace all? Yeah. So yeah, so that should fix the entire thing. What did I break? Oh no. Okay, so this is what I'm supposed to do. Replace. Uh, so that should be fine. If I refresh it, everything should be fine. What's the problem here? All right, reopen it and let's see. So aspect ratios, no issues. Unterminated string constant. Oh, really? Come on. Should be smarter than this. Where's the flex? Didn't terminate this. Just I just make this fix, right? This was my fault. Okay, center, yes, box, yes, this, yes, stack, yes. Okay, so I think everything is fine now. All right, so let's reload this and see if there are no issues. All right, so currently there are no issues, right? The only thing we need to go and check now is to see how it works. So I'm going to just clean, close, 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 close. There's even a center that I added just because I wanted it. So I mean, it's quite easy to use. You can see the difference here. Just by using this, I have this already. So what I can now do is I can design this to say the size or the variant. I want it to be larger than this. I think I defined size for it. I'm not even sure how I did it again. I have a documentation for it, but I'm not really can't remember it. Um, so I think there's a variant for it. No, not this one. There's a size. I remember there's a size for it that I gave it, and I think the size was 7, if I'm not mistaken, that I could use. It's not working. So let me check this. Let me just check this quickly. I know I used that here in the settings page, layout page, custom layouts. Yeah, this is it. So we define something like this level. Yeah, it's called level, not size. So we define the level for it. Level will give you the size to use. It's going to tell you to use maybe one. Customizable, easy to use, easy to start your project without having to like think and overthink of customization. Yes, so that is it. It should be easy right now to build your mobile apps as easy as possible. So can we do this? It's possible. Same thing also applies to having things like VStack, right? So let me copy something like this. You can see we have HStack, VStack here. So if I copy the HStack here, let's say I create something like this. So I can copy something like this and use it here as well. So if I import the HStack also and I go back to the mobile app, you can see I have something like this. Literally the same thing. Like here, I can decide this to be 2. You can see the stuff happening in real time, right? Left, right, center, and everything works perfectly well. So that's how this is supposed to work. And if I decide to say, okay, I want this to be stretch center, to be start or something, it just depends. So this works as well. So then we can have the VStack also. So the VStack also works the same way. So in this VStack, I can decide to have this. So I can decide to say top content and bottom content. Now in this case, it's going to define these two like this. I can decide to now style this and say BG orange or rows 300, 900 like this. And say I want to space it to be, let's say the space is 8. You see the distance very, very high. And then I can decide to align it by center, and then it jumps to the center. So it just makes sense. You don't need to start writing the same thing. I know this may feel like, oh, it's verbals and stuff, but no, it makes a lot more sense because then you understand what you need to do, and it makes sense. This is what I prefer to use for my own style. So, and I know there are other people that prefer this also. There are other libraries that do this. Chakra UI is one of them. Radix UI is one of them. MUI2 uses most of this structure, but not all libraries. So personally, I prefer it, and I feel like it gives you more structure, especially when you're building something that stands. Yeah, exactly. So personally, it's something I like, and I know AI can work with this if you give them good documentation. So that's why I'm building this as well. So in this case, it's very customizable. It's easy to use. It's dynamic and stuff. It is just an example of how it can work. So now this is something I've built already. So why do I want to create something like this? Why do I want to create using Radix? So why do I want to use the entire Radix library? Remember I said I want to convert the entire library itself to work for mobile. Now, one of the reasons I want to do this is simply because of the colors. That's all. I want the synergy that you get from Radix colors on web between all the components. The way it works is just it's unexplainable. It just works. It works well. And I know it's not perfect because Radix itself is not that maintained as before and stuff, but right now it should be easy to work on it because now we have like a super assistant. Everybody has that can be used to push stuff like this. And then from the mistakes of the web version, we can configure it to work for the mobile. But we know that we can't use the exact same code and we can't get everything that works on web to work on mobile. So we remove what we need, what we don't need. For instance, this custom layout you see here, I think I implemented it on mobile too because I needed it and it worked. Now you may ask yourself, why do I need this? Because it makes sense. Let me show you how it works on Radix, for instance. If I go to the segmented control here and you see how it moves, you see the animations, right? This is intuitive because it shows you that something is happening. Now, personally, I know that React the native is it React paper or something does all of this, but that looks extremely old. To me personally, I don't think it's something that should be used for 2026. When there are things like Hero UI V3 that you can use. Hero UI is one of the ones I'm using. I'm using it for one of my projects currently. This is Hero UI, and I just feel like this is perfect for what you want to use. But then I miss all the stuffs I have on Radix. Still, right? It doesn't have the layout system. We can just copy, like I said, or create it to be a package. That should be very easy to do right now because it's already in a package form. All I need to do is just package it with the existing package, install just that single thing I need, and install those as dependencies and package it, put it on npm. Everybody can just install it directly into any library, any folder you want it, just like Shatien, and it works perfectly for you. I can do that right now and which I'm going to do it. But I want to start to see if I can do this. I wanted to also work on this ambitious project of converting the entire Radix into a native version of that same Radix. Maybe it's going to be called Radix UI native. It works because this is Hero UI. They basically just call it Hero UI native. This is the web version. This is the native version. And the native version, I can tell you, is very, very nice to work with. Like, I'll be using it and it makes a lot of sense. So, for instance, now the same thing I was trying to show, which is this segmented control on the web. This is how it works on. Let me show you guys this. Is it the tab? Yeah, it's the tabs now. So this is how it works for Radix, for Hero UI itself. So for the tab system, it works. It gives you that same movement and all. But there's that stuff you miss from Radix itself. I don't know how to explain it. Personally, it's something I like to use, and you don't get that anywhere else. So then, and I like the sense of competition. If you are building something, let there be a competition for it. It makes it into it makes gives people enough choices to use. Personally, I like having choices, right? You can see the example of the apps I built. I have this, I have this, I have this, I have this. You can also do this with the React Native itself. The this one I showed you, the Radix. You can have something like that here. You can see it works similarly. You have the enough customization, so it works perfectly well. Can we do all of these things on mobile? That is what I'm trying to do. So enough of the stories. I think I've spoken a lot for 130 minutes now. So let's go into, can we implement this? That's the idea. So if you don't know, you can also check out Hero UI. Hero UI is a very nice like framework for building React Native. The whole selling point is you never have to start from scratch again. And I agree. This is exactly what I'm also trying to do for React Native UI, for Radix UI native. This is how it should be. You should never have to start from scratch because you are already familiar with the Radix UI system, which is this. Why do you need to start from scratch when you have color? You have the same colors, you have icons, like you have colors, you have primitives, you have themes, you have icons. Just the same concept should exist, but for native. It just makes sense. Like I don't know, but to me it doesn't make sense. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to the GitHub repository. I've already shown you an example of what I'm trying to do. An example of it is what I've done here using the layout, all of this code. So this is already ready. So I don't have issues with layout. What I'm trying to do is, can I use the colors? So now AI is getting smarter, works well. I'm going to close this. This is not what I want to do today. This is not my intention today. Yeah, so I'm going to close this. Just minimize yourself. This is not what I'm working with. So let me stop the server. Yep. Close this, then start the work on the business of today. So you close also, don't need you here. So now back to the business of today, which is, can we make that work? So this is it. This is what we have in the GitHub repository. Like I said, it's open source, right? You can, it's under the MIT license, so it's, you can build, you can contribute, you can do stuff to it. But right now we want to work for native. Can we do that? Yes, definitely. So let's start by saying, what do we need? So these are the packages we need. The first thing we see, we have this. These are for web, right? This is what there are 21 contributors. So obviously you can't do the same thing they do. But the point is, if I have a very good start, that's fine. And then over the years, things have been added. Like I said, there's a lot of issues here that has not been resolved. So we can't expect it to work 100%. But yeah, you can pick it up one by one. It's one of those things. So if you start from scratch, I believe you shouldn't make the same mistake that was made when they were building this. And besides, you don't use everything. You only need the stuff that work on native. Exactly. So I'm not going to open this. It might scare me away. So yeah, this is what I want to do. So I'm going to clone this. I want to clone this. I don't want to fork the repo because, okay, you know what? No, I'm not forking the repo because I'm not making changes to the native version. If they convert it, push it out there. Fine. Devs will like it. Yes. And I'm going to go to create a new project, clone repository. I'm going to clone this repository, call it Radix, Radix UI native, of course. I'm looking into the future of how this is going to be. So Radix UI native, and I'm going to create one. It's going to clone it. So it's actually not that large, funny enough. Of course, we have the playground, which literally I don't need. I'm not supposed to install that, but I want to install the other stuff so that while we are working, we can tweak it to see how it's going to look like. So like I said, our use case here, or um, what we want to do is this. What we are concerned about is this, the Radix UI themes. Do I even, is this what I'm supposed to? Yeah, okay, yeah, this is what I needed to use actually because this is what I'm trying to build. So this is the first thing you notice here is we have all of this, right? We have the components, which are the actual components we have, all of them. But you can see here we are using actual native CSS literally. So it makes a lot more sense too because that way we can create the same native style by converting it from here to an actual React Native style. So that means we gain that speed boost because we are not just working with Tailwind directly, but that still gives us the flexibility and the customization of Tailwind that we all love to use. So this is cool. So the next thing I want to do here is after doing this, I have the internal, right? The internal here are just the CSS that we use. So the idea is now to take this whole thing and convert it so that AI can make use of it and then reconfigure it into a UI, a native implementation. It's that simple. So now this is it. I'm trusting the project. I'm starting the project. Going here. So to have enough room, I'm going to try reducing the font a bit. The font is good and all, but I need the room to be able to think. AI can't fix this on its own. Honestly, not. Like, if I tell you that, I'm just lying. AI cannot fix this on its own. So, two things. There's a package of JSON which we want to install, which adjusts this. You can see the packages are very short, very, very small. We only need the type node, the types React, the types React DOM, the Prettier, the Turbo, and the TypeScript. But one thing, you can't use the Turbo for mobile. So this is going to leave. We can't use this for mobile. It's going to leave. We can't use this for mobile. So it's going to leave. We can't use this for mobile. Definitely going to leave. So most of them we have to leave, but we have to make sure this works. So the first question is this. Let's prompt AI. So I'm going to have, as usual, I'm going to have my docs folder where I give AI what I want it to use. So first things first, I'm not going to be the one to write the docs. In fact, I'll just tell ChatGPT. I'm just going to copy this same link. Go to ChatGPT. This is how I use my own stuff. I use all the AIs I can get to make life easy for me. Why still be the one guiding the entire thing? I don't just leave it for them to use because, of course, you get issues that way. So I'm going to go to ChatGPT and say, I think I have it open here. Okay, no, I don't. So I'm going to go to ChatGPT and say something like, so I'm going to say something like, okay, this is Radix UI themes GitHub repository. Uh, it is this library is for web, is a design library. Okay, I think I'll use Spark Flow for this. I have it in my head, I can write it down for web, but I want to convert the library to work for mobile and React Native. Yeah, mobile, which is React Native and Expo. Write me. Okay, you know what? It won't even do this for me. There's no point using this. So I'm just going to go here and tell the AI I want to do this. Tell me how I'm going to do it. Write a package, write a work, a flow for it that I'm going to give back to you to guide you all through the process of this project. It's that simple. So I'm going to go here, change it to ask. I'm using Kilo Code and Client. Those are the two free AIs I use. I've said that many times on this channel. I use free AIs. I don't pay for anyone. Unless I need to do something so crazy, which in this case is one of them. But I'm just trying to show you that even if you don't have hundreds of dollars and $200 to spend for the cloud package or for the OpenAI or for the Codex of all of those packages, which you spend almost $500 per month to use, you can still use free AIs to get things done. And I've done so. Almost everything I've built in the past 4 or 5 months, I've been using free AIs. Okay. The last time I used AI and I paid for AIs was when I was working as a backend dev for one company like that last year. It was for a friend also. So it was I had to use it because I wanted to speed up my workflow. But then in the process, I realized that the free AI was able to do almost the same thing I could do because I was still guiding the paid one, I was still guiding the free one, and I was getting similar results if I prompted it well. So what's the point? Since then, I've not paid for anyone, and it has been working excellently for me. I've built like 6 different things. Between that time and now, 2 mobile apps. The third one I'm still building. Aside from the one I showed you, I'm making 4. Then 2 extensions have been built within that moment. I've built 2 different web frameworks. One for I've not released the 2 actually, but this one is the third one I'm trying to build. But the point is that I've been busy using AI and for free and that's been working. So shout out to Klein and shout out to Kilo for making this possible. That's it. They are not paying for this. It's just me telling you that they work and they work really well. So back to what I'm trying to implement here. So in this case, I have all of this, right? I want AI to be able to look at this and say, okay, so I'll just tell it. So I have can you tell me about this project? That's the question. So I want you to tell me about this project. So I'll prompt this same stuff I prompt is I'll prompt client also. So what I need to do is I want to split both the AIs to 2 different sides. So I have them on both sides. Can you tell me about this project? So if you're using Kilo Code, I think they have free, very good free models right now. I think that was since yesterday, just some hours ago that you can use. So Minimax is for free. You have GLM's 4.7 for free. You have Kimike 2.5 for free, which just came out 2 days ago. You have Giga Potato for free. You have RC AI for free. I just saw it today and I'm like, whoa, I've not been using this since then. I've been using Client for a lot since like for some time now. So I'm using Minimax. Minimax is quite fast. I've used it before and has been a wonderful experience. So seeing the 2.1 for free now is just interested. So this is what I'm trying. So I've asked the question. So it says, yeah, this is a Radix team project overview. Is an open source React is this. Provide a comprehensive set of UI components that with beautiful default. That's what I want. And theming support. Now it says the Next.js demo here, the main component library, the monorepo confirmation, configuration, the build orchestration, and the root workspace config. So my question is, now that it's got what I want to do and what the app is all about, I'll say, okay, cool. Now that you understand the project, I want to convert this project to a React Native working. Okay, I want to convert this project to work not for web but for React Native. This currently is the web Radix UI project, but I want to refactor it to work for mobile. React Native and Expo. Is this possible? So I'm asking the question, is it possible? Now, this is having issues just working. The difference between AIs can bonkers sometimes. All right, so I'm asking if it's possible. Minimax is what I'm using. So, like I said, if you're using Kilo Code also, you can check this out. There are four free AIs that, in fact, five of them, and they are powerful AIs. Minimax is free, it's new, it came out 2 months ago. GLM 4.7 2 months ago, and these two LLMs have almost the same score as Claude Opus 4.5. So they are not as good as Opus 4.5, but then you are close. So when we talk about being close, probably like 10% difference. But in terms of like very advanced stuff, they still lag. But for free, it's a good deal. So use any of them. GLM 4.7, Minimax, Kimike 2.5 is free and it just came out also newly. I was just, I think it's not 2 3 days now, so it's very very new in the market and it works fine. So it's still the latest for this year. I think it's the first model for this year. Yeah, I'm not sure about RC. So Giga Potato is what I've been using for almost 2 weeks now. It's perfect and it works full grade too, but it's not up there, but it works fine. So RC AI also works. I've not tested this yet. I just saw it today too. So I've already tested Minimax GL 4.7 today. Kimiki just a bit, just today. Those are the old stuff I've tested. So if you are using Kilo Code, feel free to go crazy with using them. I think for now until they move it to the paid version. So I'm saying, is this possible? I'm asking the AI now. So it's going to tell me the verdict. It's going to tell me if it is possible or not. So I'll just copy this same. I'll copy this same stuff and paste it for this one too. So this one already understands that, oh yeah, this is it. Now this gave me a better breakdown. It says, based on my exploration, I can tell you this project is this, main package is this, location this, version this, playground, key features, 50 plus components, including the layout components, the box, the flex, the grid, the container, the section, insert separator, scroll area, and typography, form components, blah, 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 all of those things. Now, I'm thinking of something, and I think that would be the best way to do it. I'm going to create another duplicate of this same project. I will have one AI work on one, we'll have the other AI work on the other one because I don't want them to conflict. It's easy for them to do it if you work with multiple AI models. You have conflicts most times. I don't want that to happen. I know that would have been the best approach, but I want to see which one can work on it because most of them have the way they work on their projects, especially large projects like this. You don't want to conflict them by giving them too many things to do, and then they get confused and they just go off. So in this case, I'm going to create a copy. I have Minimax with Kimike 2 with GLM 4.7 work on one. I'll have this other one for client. Everything for Kilo should work on one. Anything for client should work on the other one. But sometimes I'll be using each of them to build and fix themselves because, like I said, all AI still needs themselves to work. So in this case, this tells me I have the 50 plus components, blah blah blah, all of these, 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 all of these. Yes, 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 yes. All right. So my question is, will it work? Can it convert it to work for mobile? So if it says yes, it's going to explain how to me. All of them needs to explain before I start the project. So you say this is a significant undertaking, obviously. How would you like to proceed with converting Radix team to React Native? Not to React Native. I want to convert it to work for React Native. Okay, still the same thing. It says switch there to architecture to plan a detailed migration strategy, including component mapping and tech stack decisions. Switch to code, implement, blah, blah, blah. Provide this analysis. Okay. Okay, so the same thing, converting it is it's definitely possible, but it's a significant undertaking. I know that requires careful planning and architectural changes. I definitely do that. So let me break down the feasibility and approach. What makes it possible? Component logic is portable, 100%. I agree. The component logic is portable. I've put in like 15. In fact, I put it with what I've shown you guys earlier. I've put in more than 10, so I know it's possible. The core logic, the state management, the accessibility patterns from Redis can be adapted, which is true. The TypeScript foundation is very solid, which is true. The component-based architecture is also solid, which is true. The growing native React Native ecosystem supports many web-like patterns, which is also true, but not all of them. So major challenges: CSS to style sheet conversion. Yes, that's the one that AI needs to help me with. Basically, the entire ones, which is the layout, I've already implemented them. I can just copy and paste them myself. It works. So, which I'm going to actually do myself. DOM primitive to native component, HTML elements to React Native component, which we need to specify that there are certain things we don't want. For instance, everything that we not work on the web, they should be removed. So that means we need to fill in the gap of those ones. So we need to plan it very well for us to implement it. Beautiful thing is that I already have a sample. So I can provide the sample and say, okay, I have this, put it to something like this. So then the layout system, Flexbox based bots with different constraints. Exactly. I already have those. So if touch events versus mouse keyboard event, yeah, this is where the problem is right now. The entire thing I've been thinking about for this is not even the styling. I could just paste the CSS to, I can even write a program or a function that converts actual CSS to React Native style and then do a copy and paste back to it, or just have a AI convert it myself. But I need to have a program that does the conversion so that I can verify it first with test, then run that conversion on the project. I can do that. It's quite easy to do. Converting actual CSS to React Native style sheet is very easy to do. Conversion is like very simple. That's not a problem at all. It's extremely easy to do that. But what is difficult to do now is the event handling. Events are not something you want to just tamper with or just work with. Events can be crazy to work with most times. Personally, I've had encounter if you've been working with event from the days of using Ajax, normal JS, when TypeScript was not even that popular, and then you have to work with handing mouse up, mouse events, copy down, text down, on press, on drag. Jesus, it's just hellish to work with. Let's just not even talk about that. But then now it gets easy because a lot of frameworks, but it's still not easy to work with. This is the problem I have with this. The entire thing, I can implement the entire thing myself if I want to. It's just going to take time, but I can. But the event handling is where the issue is. It won't be much of a problem, but you need to be careful. That's the issue with it. So the accessibility also, yeah, it's not really a problem. Accessibility works well with React Native as well. So you can just port most of them that will work, but not the entire thing. So high level migration strategy phase one, foundation, create new React Native package structure, which I like. I like that build process. Um, so I'm going to tell you to do the same thing. Provide a detailed analysis of the challenges and recommend the approach for it, then decide the next step. So create new this. So I'm going to set up the build system. Like I said, we need to use Metro. Like I said, we need to use Metro and Babel, most especially Babel because we need to configure for Tailwind as well. So we need to use both of them. Definitely no, there's no compromise on those two, at least for now, until we get a better approach. So the create styling system is going to be style sheet based. Like I said, that will give us a very good performance boost because we are not using Tailwind by default. So we establish component primitives. All the component primitives are going to be established. For instance, we are not going to use all of them. Like I said, we are going to stick to the one we want to use. So for instance, we are going to be using all the layouts. In this case, I already have all the layouts configured. I already showed you guys the layout. I have 15 of them already ported to React Native, even more than what is here. So these are just five: box, flex, grid, container, and this. So I have these five already available for React Native. I created other ones that I picked from Chakra UI. Let me show you guys Chakra UI in case you're not familiar. Chakra UI. So I picked some from Chakra UI. Chakra UI is also, sorry, this is one of the extensions I have. Sorry about that. I mess up my systems a lot. So I create stuff as much as I want with my system. So in this case, this Chakra UI. So Chakra UI allows me to be able to, it has its own layout system also, more like how Radix does, which is another one I like. And let me go to the components, show you guys what I mean. So in this case, you can see we have the absolute center. In this case, I created the center also. So we have the center, the aspect ratio. So what I did there was just to combine what I like from Radix, what I like from Chakra, bring it together and use it. That's all. So in this case, what I have here is the center. I call this center, not absolute center. Center, aspect ratio. I don't have action bar. I have the alert. I don't have those ones yet. Just layout. So I have the layout for center, layout for aspect ratio, layout for box, layout for okay, this is the center I have, not this one. So layout for center, then we have the yeah. So most of these, I just pick the one I use for layout, which for layout, in this case, I have the center, I have the box, aspect ratio, box, center, container, flex, grid, stack. So I have the stack. So in the case of the stack, I have two different stack, stack and space. So we have the stack, we have the horizontal stack, that's the V stack and the H stack. So just the same way you see it here, the H stack and the V stack, I have both of them. The separator, I have that also. Those are the ones I have. Then also pick the same thing from Radix, also some of them from Radix. So combining them together gave me what I have. So I have like 10 of them, 10 to 15. I'm not sure of the number now. I've already ported, so that's fine for me. So based on what this is saying now, it's saying that I need to create the basic layer component, migrate type typography component. Perfect. I have the text and the heading. I forgot to mention that. I created those two too, so I already have them perfectly implemented. So interactive components, the buttons, not done. Input field, not done. I've not even started with those ones yet. Excuse me. Implement navigation component. Yes, we need to do that. We don't have those ones yet. Handle complex interactions. Now, this is where uh, I want it to work. Now, I'm drawing ideas about this one from the Hero UI I pointed to you guys the other time. So Hero UI is one of my favorite React Native libraries now. Where are you? 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 Okay, this is it. So it's one of my best React Native components, and the way it works just makes sense. It has things like bottom sheet already configured for you that you don't need to even think about installing a library, and it works with configuration, with styling, with all of those things. And then there's another one called the dialog. For instance, dialog exists in Radix UI. It also exists here. And how do you use it? Use it similar to how you have it in Radix. So if I can implement something like this, it's just putting this form back to what you have in Radix. Let me show you guys. So if I go to dialog, you can see the similarity between it. You can see dialog the root, the trigger, literally the same thing. Dialog the trigger, the portal, the overlay. As you can see. Then the close. So it just makes sense. So that's what I'm trying to implement here. So it's not hard to do. It's just going to require understanding what changes is going to be made. So we need to do that. So the dialogues, the tabs, the segmented control that I want, the stuff I want needs to be implemented. And the phase four is the advanced features, the animation system, accessibility features, platform specific optimizations, very important. But that will be done once you have the basic things implemented. And the technical considerations, which are styling for the web and for React Native, we need to find a way to port the entire thing. So that means we need to ensure that our style libraries, in terms of the sizing, are perfectly the same thing. I know that is the way the best styling to use, according to how we have defined it when it comes to web, is using the 4 pixel approach. That's why Tailwind uses the 4 pixel approach. Bootstrap using the 4 pixel approach. Everybody does it. It makes it easy for you to work both with grid, both with the whole responsiveness and everything. When it comes to borders, colors, systems, spacing, gaps, everything works with the 4 pixel. If you look at Tailwind, when you say gap 2, you are simply saying gap 4 times 2, which is 8. Literally, that's how you're calculating it. Padding 2 means 4 times 2, padding 8. You can try it out with normal CSS, it's the same thing. So that's how it works. We have a defined structure. So the 4 pixels. But I don't know how it works in React Native. I have not done that research before, which I'm going to do. So these are things we need to be careful of before we even jump into implementation at all. So then we have the component mapping. In this case, you need to map div to view for everything. We need to have map button to touchable opacity. So that means the first thing we need to have is you need to have a very solid button component. Button is one of those things that can do you dirty when you are converting the components because it can mess you up for many reasons. Many reasons in the sense that you can put it inside the library, like putting it inside a link and it doesn't work. You don't know what to do at that point because we've gone too far to style it for other stuff, and then you have to now find a way and stop. There are a lot of things that can go wrong, but we should be careful about that. So we are using the touchable opacity or the pressable. In this case, I prefer using the touchable opacity. Pressable is cool. I think I'll use the pressable instead because it has um, more configurations. You can add functions to it for states and all of those things. So yeah, the same way as Radix UI library works, the same thing is going to happen. So for input to text input, span to text. So dependencies replace web specific packages with React Native equivalent. use React Native SVG for icons, which is very important. Radix also has its own default icons. Of course, we won't be using its icons, right? Because the icons are not for they are not for web, right? Download the SVG and stuff. They are not for mobile rather. They are for web. And I don't want to have to like decide all of those things. I don't think it works for web. I've not tried it before. I don't think it works. Nobody talks about it for web, so I've not even tried that before. But if it works, fine, we can also port it. But let's deal with the major thing. So we have consider React Native reanimated for animations, which is important. So propose package structure. This is already very, very detailed. I think I'll go with this one. So implemented approach, fork and rewrite recommended. If I didn't fork it, I already copied it. So I need to go back and fork this library. Yeah, definitely. Share TypeScript types where possible. Independent React Native implementation. Maintain parallel development. Option two. So the first thing is option one, which is fork and rewrite, which is recommended approach. We share the TypeScript types where possible, which yeah, we are going to use the same TypeScript types to maintain that same portability and similarity between them. So maintain parallel development, which is why I'm going to have two different packages, two different types of project. The same, I will duplicate the project. So yeah, option two is conditional build, single package with platform specific export, more complex build system, potential for shared code, but harder to maintain. So I will go with option one because yeah, I like that. So the key migration strategy, set up React Native development environment, create native styling system, port the component logic 50 plus components is going to weigh the AI down. AI is going to misbehave a lot. I can see it breaking. And the thing is, I already see myself stepping in for most of like 20 to 40% of fixing this. Because even getting that one I showed you guys to work, I had to step in to make some fixes in terms of like basic styling, like just normal flex. One AI doesn't understand what those things mean. So I know it's not going to get it, but then it will help me a lot to make other things work. So when after we are done with that, we so the strategy is set up React Native environment, the dev environment, create native styling, port the component, implement the theme system for mobile, which is extremely important. So Radix has this thing called the so for the themes here, it has something called this theme. When you get started, you add this thing called theme to it here. So it automatically uses the color system. As you can see, there's something called the accent color. Once you set the accent color here, it works across the entire app, except you specify the theme again and set another accent color. Which let me see if I can show you guys that stuff. So this is the overview, right? So if you set the accent color like this, you can see dark mode working instantly. Setting the accent color works once. So okay, this is it. No, this is not it. Where are you? All right, I can't find it, but I'll show you when I see it. I don't know where it is right now. Sense, typography. Okay, I think it's this one. Dark mode. No, it's not this one too. Oh my god, what is happening here? Okay, so I can't find it, right? But you get the point. Once I see it, I'll show you guys what I mean. So it has also that beautiful stuff that you can use. So it says once we are done with the theme system, you have the create expo demo app, which we have all the components shown, like what every other person does. React Native is able to has the demo app, Hero UI Native as a demo. Everybody should does it so you see what is available to you to use. So set up testing for React Native, which is fine. We need to test this because yeah, we definitely need to test it. Don't want to move it out and make something spoil. No, definitely. For me, it's going to be tested, definitely. Then documentation and example. Yeah, that's easy for you to do. So estimated efforts is 3 to 6 months. Now you guys see what I'm trying to talk about. So imagine if I'm building this amount, it's actually 3 to 6 months to build alone. So for a solo developer, this is 3 to 6 months of work. Because we have 50 plus components to migrate, complex styling system to rewrite, testing and validation, documentation updates, platform specific optimizations. So the question for me is, do I want to migrate all the 50 components or focus on a subset first? So personally, it's going to be on the subset first. I will define what I want to define, what I want to focus on first of all, and get it to implement all of those at first. And once that is done, I will now migrate what I already have working for the other one into it. I'm not going to give you that one. I want you to think, provide a better way since the package is now here. Use the exact package, not the one I created. One I created did not use the package. It's just think and implement it. Then the timeline is what's my expected timeline? I'm not providing a timeline, just get it to work. So target platform is for iOS and Android, both of them. I don't really want cross-platform. I know there are people that use stuff like this for cross-platform, but I'm not focusing on web for now. If you want to build a web application, use one that exists and is rich for it. I don't think it's best practice to you have your web and your mobile app in the same place. It's never really something that I thought is reasonable. Why do I want to have my Expo app create a web version of it? So I have one code base for everything. It doesn't. I don't know. I've not tried it before. If you think it's cool, fine. But I don't think I'm working on that for now. So let's focus on the Android and the web first. We port it when it's mature to allow for web. The web should be easy to create, honestly. So what's my expected timeline? So I don't know. Are you working alone with a team? I'm working alone. Do you need to maintain API compatibility with the web version? Yes. Do you like to create a detailed migration plan with specific implementation steps? Absolutely yes. I want to. Okay, so now that is done. Let's go to the other one to see. This one says 3 to 6 months. This one says 4 to 8 months. Let's see how this is going to work. So it says the first thing I need to do, even dream a diagram, right? It says what I need to do is this. To convert it, they say yes, it's possible, but requires significant refactoring. This was for the web using DOM element and CSS. Converting it involves addressing fundamental platform differences, which is 100% correct. So the key challenges are the DOM to native components, which is div, span, button stuff. You convert it just like I've explained before. So you say the current web is box using forward ref, elements div, bob props. But in this case, it has to be React Native view, box prop, passing the forward ref, but use a view instead of the ref. So the difference is just changing from div to view. It's easy. Like I said, if I want to create this on my own, I know the approach to go about it, but I'm not doing that. No, not now. So CSS styling versus JavaScript styles. Now, in this case, we can use the CSS styles, which are the base buttons, the normal style we have, which are stuff we already have there. So in this case, there's something called the RT base button, RT resets, which exist from Radix because they're already defined. But in this case, we need to change it. We don't want to use the class names for this. We want to use the styles. So that way it's going to be changing from the normal CSS styling to using the JavaScript styles because it's faster. So we can also decide to use the normal class names, but that means we need to define our style. And there's no way you can use style except to use style components. And I don't want to use style component for this. I feel it's difficult to maintain, obviously, not using that. So we are going to stick to this React Native style sheet, which works. I prefer that, in fact. So Radix UI primitive dependencies. The library depends on React slots, React dialog. But in this case, we can't use those two. And the reason why we have those slots is because for used to use define, how do I explain this? So the slot is used for extra configuration for certain elements, and also for the dialog itself, you need that for things like the portals. Portals in native, but this is just like it gives more configuration to the DOM itself. That's what we use the slot for. But in this case, we can't use the slot for React Native. We can create a slot equivalent. But what that means is that it gives us more ways to also style how we use React Native. Let me show you an example. If you go to Hero UI, you see something called a slot there. I think it's in bottom sheet. I'm not entirely sure. I know it's there. We have something called the portal. They use the portal a lot. Okay, no, this doesn't use the slot. The one that uses the slot is the React Native reusables. Is it that one or something? I know there was one of the libraries I use it, and then they use it well because you want to have that defined so that you can use it to make changes. But the portal is needed because you want to have, like, you want to be able to modify anything that has to do with popover dialogue. They always have the portal bottom sheet because that way you are not working with the actual DOM layer. You want to have a way to style it out of the way yourself. I've used that somewhere on the web for one of my projects too. The OS UI I built. So yeah, that works that way. So which are web specific? React Native alternative exists. Community maintained ports, but may not be fully feature complete. So it says 60 plus component support. Layout, yes. Typography, yes. Forms, yes. Overlays, definitely. Data display, yes. Feedback, yes. So we need the alert dialog and the toast. So the toast we need new implementation really because Radix UI does not really have a toast component. It doesn't. It doesn't by default. So if you go to primitives, for instance, primitives gives you something that you might be able to use, but it doesn't give you exactly what it is. So primitive toast in this case is something like this. You style it yourself. You have the toast provider, which the swipe direction is right, and you have to install that yourself by using React Toast, and then you define it like this and stuff. But in this case, we can use something similar. We can define our own to work exactly this way using the same configuration for the primitives. We might not need to use the themes itself. So we can, when we get to this point, we'll cross it. There are very much ways to do that. So the navigation, the tabs, the tab nav, segmented control. Well, I don't really care about the tab nav, to be honest. The tab works for me every single time. Tab nav is just an addition that I don't really care about much, and that's it for me. This tab nav doesn't really change much. Like, doesn't do much. Tabs already does what I want for me, right? Tab nav is just navigation with that. So I don't really need the tab nav. So utilities, visually the aspect ratio, scroll progress, scroll area and progress is very important. Scroll area especially, I like that one. So event handling, which is the difficult part, we change from on click to on press, on change to unchanged text. That's it. So recommended approach, full rewrite with cross-platform design, create new Radix ARN Radix themes package, yes. Implement native primitives, yes. Create view text touch triple wrappers, blah blah blah. Create new primitives library, build this, use style sheet for this, use universal component library, consider building on top of, yeah, this is exactly what I don't want to have to consider. The reason is because, fine, I know Tamag UI is very excellent when it comes to optimizations, right? Acts excellent React Native support also. Native Wind is okay, but I don't like the fact the speed compared to other ones is quite not there for me. So if I'm building on top of it, it's just going to add a layer of complexity and latency. So I don't want that. Restyle also works. Restyle is for, I'm not so familiar with Restyle. I know I've seen it before, but yeah, let me look for Restyle. I don't think it's still that popular. Restyle React Native also. Okay, I think it's that from Shopify. Yeah, it type a first system for building UI. So I think it's from Spotify, and yeah, this is it. I don't think I want that. Of course, it's typed. It's fully typed. Like everything is typed and stuff. But do I want that? I don't think so. Okay, so zero config CSS for React, blah blah blah. Input. This is the output. So you define this, your styled. Yeah, when it has to do with style like this, I avoid it. Causes problems a lot. So I'm not using this. Definitely not. Yeah, but it's cool. So Expo router plus component library. Use Expo with a unified component approach as share logic, but render differently per platform. So the implementation strategy is phase one, foundation, core components, layer primitive box, typography, basic interactive buttons, touchable opacity, complex components, all of these things are what we are trying to implement. So form component with accessibility, overlay, dialog, popover, polish and testing, theming, customization. So like I said, what I'm very concerned about is the colors. So whatever is going to be built, especially must work well with the colors. The way the colors work in Radix is why I'm going through this much trouble. If I wanted the layout, I already have the layout and I can put it to a library, install it for all my projects. It's easy. But I want the other stuffs to work with it. Like for instance, the checkbox works exactly with the colors. If I change the colors, it just works. Like it just works. The colors works well. The contrast system, I don't even care about much, but it works. If you can add that as a functionality, it's cool. Additional stuff. But the colors works perfectly and it works well. Right. So that's exactly what I'm after. So if it can get that done, yes. So but then it says the whole existing alternative thing is what I'm thinking about. It says before embarking, consider if this solution meets your needs. They don't meet my needs. That's why I'm changing it. So they don't. It's going to take about 4 to 8 months, which is quite correct. Foundation will take about 4 weeks. Core component about 8 weeks. Complex component about 16 weeks. It's a lot. So it's possible by recommend starting with a minimal proof of concept, button text, evaluate whether this or similar coaxial development, plan for 6 plus months of dedicated activity for future parity. So yeah. So is it possible to build with AI? Yes. Can AI get it done once? I don't know. So all of these things is just preparation. You don't want to dive into building with AI already without planning it. So what I'm planning to do here is, yes, I can jump back into it and say, oh, write this and fix it for me. It's 100% possible. But then you need to know if it's going to be able to do it or not. Else you just hit a block and have incomplete projects. I have too many of those right now. I don't want to work on another one that I can't even fix because it's too complex. The other ones I have pending, I can fix it myself, but it's just time. So not really a problem. So what are we going to do? Do we use this or we use this? Like I said, I'm going to create another one. So I'm going to go back here and I'm going to fork this repo, which means I go back to this and I'm going to go here and I'm going to go fork the repo here. That's 308, create my own copy. So I'm going to call it themes. So I'm going to call it Radix themes. Let me try early. I'm going to do this. I'm going to put it to my GitHub. I'm going to add it to my GitHub. Uh, let's see what I have. So I'm going to create a fork of this. So I'm copying the main branch only. I should have, okay, fine. That's fine too. So forked from this, I'm going to go back here and there are 8 branches, just 8 branches. That's how crazy it is. Just 8 branches. So this is the default one. So I'm going to go back to my own repo and then I can clone from this for the second one, which is for the clone version. And so I'm going to create one here and call it clone repository. I'll paste that. I'll call it Radix theme native. So I have Radix UI native, Radix theme native. So two different AIs. That's the same I can do. So it's going to clone this also. I'm going to paste it the same thing. But before I do that, I'm going to copy. So I'm going to allow this one by the right to work on this normal project forked from the website. I'm going to allow. Okay, I think that's going to allow KiloCode to work on that. Client will work on this one. KiloCode will work on the other one to see which one can get it done better, faster. Let me use the word faster. So while this is being cloned, so I'm going to say, would you like me to create a theme plan with yes, create a detailed migration plan. So while that is happening and this is happening also, I'm going to tell this to create okay, this is trust project. This is the new one, right? Same thing, same project, same everything. I'll minimize this. So I'll say create a detailed plan for this implementation. I want to go through with this. So this is going to be what it's going to do. It says Radix UI theme React Native migration plan outlines the comprehensive migration strategy to convert Radix UI themes from web to React Native component API while adapting the implementation for native platform, mobile platforms. So we have so it's going to create it this way. In the packages library, which we have here, we have Radix UI themes. So it's going to convert that from Radix UI theme. It's going to create another one. Um, so it's going to create another one, which is another folder, another directory called Radix UI themes native, which is what I want. So it's going to call new React Native package. Then those are the packages. So it's going to create shared primitives for both of them, which I prefer. So it's going to have design tokens for mobile. So then it's going to have the playground and the playground native, which is going to be the Expo demo app. That's cool. So the development environment is just set up Expo workspace and configure Metro bundler for the native package, set up TypeScript configuration for React Native, blah blah blah. So it says all those are done. Set up use scripts. Of course, this hasn't said some of the things I was expecting, like what do you want to do for the build configurations? Because it's not going to work just like that. You need to make some changes to the configuration. It hasn't said anything yet. I need to come up eventually. So the phase two core infrastructure, which is week 3 and week 4, is going to be we change from view to view for React Native. From text, it should be div to view. That's a mistake. So from text or span to text, pressable to touchable or pressable opacity, scroll view to scroll view, text snippet to text snippet. I don't understand what this. The design token system is going to be convert CSS variables to TypeScript constants, create responsive scaling utilities, implement color system for mobile. Exactly. That's exactly what I was looking for. Color system. Typography scale adaptation, yes. Native theme provider component, yes. Theme context implementation, dark light mode support, exactly. Accessibility layer, which is important. Layout components are week 5 and 6. We have basic layout component, priority order for migration. Just do it. I just want to see what is going to happen. So we have all of this. Okay, so this is done with the plan. So let's see this also. So this is week 4. I hope he's not going to start creating it right now. Don't start unless I say so. Okay, it's done creating the plan. So this is going to phase 3 is going to create the layout component. Priority order for migration is box, flex, grid, container section, which is fine. I have other ones, so I can copy that when I need them. So the layout implementation, each component needs the TypeScript prop and stuff, spacing and sizing, margin padding utilities, which is fine. Responsive breakpoints. Skeptical of responsive breakpoint. I know there is need for defining or designing your application mobile for mobile devices and for tablets. I don't know. Just okay, we'll do that. Typography system is fine. Basic interactive components, buttons, icon buttons. Definitely, I want that one. Button handling, um, form group components, display components for phase 6. Hmm. Okay, that's fine. Phase 7 is navigation component. I don't want that now, but I'm just going to leave it in case it works. Sorry about that. Then the last thing I'm going to have is the phase 8, which is the overlay component, the dialog, alert dialog, pop over two tips, overcard. So we are going to need a portal for that one. So definitely phase 9 and phase 10, then phase 11. Wow, this is a lot. I'm seeing 30 weeks. And that's quite crazy. So it says implementation details, component migration template is going to be. So let's start from phase 10. It says complexity, migration of the gesture recognition. Yeah, that's one that scares me the most. Gestures. Okay, so complex state management. Everything in advanced features is just scary because you have performance optimization. Oh my god. Okay, so we have the portal. We have like I said, we need the portal. We need the slots for composition for components. We need reset for style reset. Fine, that's important too. So we have the testing. We have the quality assurance. We have the phase 13, which is also important, documentations and updates and stuff. So this is how it's going to look like. So the maintain API compatibility, the same way we have in the button props, you want to have the same thing for the button. So the reason I'm having this is because I want to maintain the same APIs. There's no change. There is no need to change it. Maintain the same props for the API. The button sizes, we can extend it. It's easy to extend by saying, okay, I want it to be from button 1 to button 6. Depends. Flexibility comes, but let's have it first implemented the same way, use it the same way, and then it works. So this is what it's going to change from. This is the interface. This is how it's going to use it. Create a button with the view, button props. But in this case, it has to be pressable. Like I said, pressable gives you enough more customization, so it works. So I like this. So styling design architecture is going to be design the tokens, the colors is going to be this. Uh, this is where I have a problem with it right now because if you are defining the colors, right, the colors that you're going to use for this, in this case, is you have things like the color system that already is defined. As you can see in the tokens, you have all the colors. So I think that works too. It's going to use the colors from the tokens, which you already specified. The accent color, the spacing, the typography is going to remain. Success metrics, all 50% component migrated, 90% API compatibility with web version, 90% coverage, test coverage, the OS parity, performance days. Yeah, performance has to be less than 16 milliseconds during that time. Performance is going to be crazy. When we get there, it's going to be crazy. Accessibility has to be enforced. Bundle size has to be less than 200 kilobytes. I like these quality metrics. Documentation completeness has to be 100%. Every component has to be documented on usage, on the pros and the cons. Documentation is golden at this point. Timeline summary 30 weeks, 7.5 months approximately. That's crazy. So critical part is component testing documentation, but everything we can compress the whole 7.5 months to less than 2 weeks if I work on it every day, but I don't think I will. I have other stuff. So I hope someone will be interested in working with this or on this if I put it out and say, oh, I'm building this. Are you interested? I've not really had luck with that so much. But I hope I'm going to have luck with it this time around. So we have the migration, the risk mitigation is complex component complexity. Start with simple components first, yes. Platform differences, and that's fine. I think I like this. It's going to write it. I'll tell you to write it. Write this plan. Write this implementation plan in. I'm going to specify where to write it. I don't have that currently. So in this case, this also has updated and written the plan, right? All of the plans. So let's see the difference. This is, let me just put it like this. Define the table of content, the project overview, the target state, the current state, and the target state. React Native plus Expo, JavaScript is. So it says it's going to maintain. I feel like this is going to do a better job than this. I don't know. I just see things I prefer on the client than the Kilo code. This is not a competition between client and Kilo, but it kind of looks like it will be at the end of the day. But I don't know. So let's see. It says native styling strategy is going to be something like this. The style sheet from native, create the style sheet. Okay, I like this. Yeah, it should look like this because you want to convert all the styles that looks like normal CSS like this. You want to convert all of this to that. Of course, you don't have that. You can't do this on native, but this is cool. We still want to have this done, even on native. Even if you can't do it directly, there has to be a workaround. And the reason why I'm using AI is because I don't have to start copying all of this. Come on, this is about almost 1,500, 1,100 lines. Blah, blah. So the pros is native performance, which is what I want. That's why I prefer this style sheet implementation. So if you have background color of this, and however is going to make this work, just do it. So the cons is no CSS class name compatibility, but we can always provide the compatibility for it just like this one specified, we use it. Like for instance, this is just for the styling, right? We can always still use something like styles.button to make it work, and which is still the same thing. And then we add props or style, then we add class name to it, and it still works. So it's not really a problem. I like it. So no additional dependencies, full TypeScript support. Is it debugging? Exactly. So Tamagi UI is the option B, which I don't want to use. Excellent RN support, compiler optimization, shared code, learning curve. I don't want to do it because it's difficult to tweak for me. I don't have much knowledge on it, so I'm not doing that. So I'm going to go with styling one, which is still this. I'm not using native wind because it's going to make it quite expensive. Native wind is not known for it's being fast. It's good. It has good support for React Native and Tailwind, but nah, it's just going to be something I want to if I want more customizations, like I am going to have, but I want to use this normal style by default. One of the things Radix does best is you can see write actual CSS for a start. For the radius, you can see for the radius, for the scaling, for the shadows, everything is actual CSS for the spacing, right? So same thing is going to apply here. So decision option A is what we are going to use. For the second one, component primitive strategy, we have this. So no, now don't want to waste time here. We already have what I want. I can see some similarities in terms of how they work here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this into the second project. And then this is what we are going to use. So I'm going to go into the other project I minimized. I'm going to bring it and maximize it again. So I'm going to copy this from here. I'm going to copy the plans that I have. So I'm going to copy the plans from here, the entire plan, and paste it into this package. So copy it and paste it here. So this is the plan that this is going to be for. In fact, I'm going to rename the package, right? Because I want to rename it. You know what? I'm just going to rename the package to something else. Rename the projects. Rename the projects. Rename the directory. Rename the directory from Radix Themes Native. No. Rename the project. Uh, Radix UI. Radix UI Themes Native. This is Radix UI Native. I'm going to call it Kilo so I can differentiate them. I want them to have the same name actually. Radix UI Native Kilo. So that means it's Kilo code. Yeah. So I'm going to rename this also, rename the directory to the same thing. Radix UI Native Kilo. Same thing. All right. So that way I know this is for Kilo code 100%. So this is going to change to Radix UI Native Client. So I'm going to rename the project to Radix UI Native Client. So now we have this Radix UI Native Kilo, Radix UI Native Client, both of them. So they should look the same. Okay, so yeah, that's complete. So what I need to do is create a document here that this is going to work with. I'm going to call it um Radix. So I'm going to, you know what I would have done here is just to cut this completely because Kilo is not going to work on this project. It's going to work on the other one. This is for clients. So I'm going to cut this out. I'm going to paste it inside of here, even though it exists. I'm going to overwrite it. Yes. No. Yeah, same thing. If I'm not mistaken. Let's see. Exactly. So as you can see the changes that it's going to make. So it's going to create directory structure according to what it says. It says after it's going to use this, then it's going to meant for it. It says first thing is Radix React. I don't want to use this slot thing. I think prefer to use something else for the slot. Okay, we'll find another way. We'll find another library to use. But for now, let's just start it. The way what I would have preferred to use would have been something like what Scan Hero UI use here. So Hero UI uses something like this. Let me go to the package so you can see. So if you go to Hero UI here, you see what it uses. In the Hero UI native, it has a way of using that. Okay, it's not really here. Let me show you guys what I mean. So it's using the portal. There's a way he uses portal in his own stuff. Let me go to the GitHub repo. I'm show you what I mean. So if I go back to the Hero UI 3, go to the repo itself. If we check the yeah. So looking at this, you see the way this is handled. You see some of the things he uses. Yeah, it uses bottom sheet for what he uses. It does that also using okay. Can't find what I'm looking for here. So aside from this, also there's another even React Native reusable uses the slot, uses the portal, but uses RN, uses the React Native portal library by default. I'm surprised to say I can't see any portal dependency here. Just strange. I was expecting I was going to see something. Um, okay, I can't see anything, which is okay. I'm just going to yeah, it's not here. I wanted to show something, but I can't find it, so that's fine. So I'll just allow you to use for what you want to use, and for the dialogue, I need excuse me. Okay, you know what? Let's just leave it for the dialogue as well. What I was thinking of is if I used something like that here, which I did. So in this project, I used yeah using the portal. I use this for the portal and I use this for the slot as a React Native primitive slot. This works kind of like with it works the same way Radix primitives work. That's this one here, this primitive stuff. It works similarly. So we can use that in place. I believe it's going to work exactly the same way. I believe it's going to because now if you look at this, we are not using anything else to it. What is specified as Radix UI here? We don't have Radix UI on this project. I've not come across it on any native project before. So that's why I'm skeptical about it. But I'm just going to leave it to do its thing. I'll step in when it has gone a bit far. native picker. I don't think I need all of those, but that's fine. Directory structure, implement the component, the primitives, the types, forms, overlay, data, blah, blah, blah. Complete that. Okay, so this is fine. You have everything you need for Kilo to start work. And that's what we are going to do. Then for client, let's see. So I'm going to create in the plan, I'm going to create a plan. I'm going to create another document and call it Radix UI native, Radix UI theme. Let me just Radix theme, ring conversion plan .md. The same name, literally the same name. Yeah, the same name. I'm going to close this because it doesn't exist anymore. So I'm calling it this, the same name, right? Radix UI native client. This one is Radix UI native Kilo. All right, so I'm going to say write the implementation plan in if possible. I can just even copy myself if I can. It's quite detailed, so yeah. So I'll just copy this, paste it here. I think that's fine. Yeah, so that's fine. So this is the package. It's done, set, understandable. So yeah, this is where I'm going to end this today. We have our setup done, even though we have not completed any of it yet. The next step is going to be to, so two things can happen. I can allow them run rather than running them on the call when you guys get here. But the next time I'm going to have this call is to show you the progress. I'm not going to be taking it by waiting for you guys to come. So basically, it's AI that will do most of the work. The only time I'm going to like show you and stream what I'm doing behind the scenes is when I feel like there's something important you guys need to see in terms of me tweaking it or making the changes. But currently, AI is going to do most of this conversion. Like I said, we have two projects. One using Kilo, which is the AI I'm going to be using, and one is going to be using Client. So Client is going to work on one of them, the conversion from Radix UI to Radix UI native. And the second one is going to work from converting Radix UI also to Radix UI native. The reason I'm using two different AIs because they will make different decisions. So I want to see which one makes the best decisions and which one I would then discard and the one I will follow through with. It's good to always have that. That's the plan I have for this. Why do I have these two stuff? Oh, that's weird. Okay. Yeah, so that is it. Okay, same thing happened here. Terrible, 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 terrible. Okay, so that's basically it for today's video. This is everything I'm going to be showing here today. But consider subscribing if you have not, so that when I'm dropping the next video. So technically, the next video is going to be in 24 hours, same time, 4 p.m. Nigerian time tomorrow. But if you want to get notified, consider subscribing so that you can get notified for that particular session. It's going to be interesting because I'm going to be showing you guys how this is done, the progress of conversion, the mistakes they are going to make, and how long it's going to take them to do it. And I can assure you that by the time it's done, like I've shown you that I've done the layout already. I have like 15 different layouts ported, so I can use it for any project. And I've shown you guys how it works. So, but now I want AI to do that conversion for the entire project, for colors, for everything, to see how fast it can go. So who knows? You might be able to do it in one day, but I doubt that's going to happen. So why that happens or does not happen, I'm going to keep sharing what keeps happening with you guys. And feel free to drop your comment if there's anything you want to see added before we are done. Like I said, we are combining different good stuffs from different projects, or for making it available for native now. So that's the idea. So thank you so much for watching, guys. And see you guys in the next one. Please consider subscribing, liking the video as well. I would really appreciate that. So consider doing that as well. Thank you so much for watching once again. Catch you guys in the next one. Bye for now.